Hello everyone and welcome to Werven's World and welcome to my addendum to my 10 tips for new players video. So Rise of Industry is actively in development and it's an early access game, and they've just released a very big patch, the 5.1 patch, that adjusts many things of the games. Now some of those have also affected the tips I gave previously, so I thought I would make a video detailing on how they were affected, so you know what to trust and what not to trust from that previous video. So let's get started. So in tip number 2 of the previous video, I talked a little bit about trade routes and how they work, and most of it still stands. However, at the end of that tip I mentioned that it might be good when you do a trade route to actually fill up more of these icons, because the dispatch cost of 4 trucks would be the same as the dispatch cost of 1 truck. Now that has changed. It was apparently a bug. So now when I dispatch 2 trucks, you will see here 2040. However, if I now remove this and dispatch another one, you can see 1145. So the cost is actually added when having more trucks, so that part of the tips is not correct anymore. In tip number 5 of my previous video, I went into detail on how you had to be very careful when choosing your initial buildings in career mode, because you could work yourself into some troubles by not choosing carefully. However, now the tech tree has kind of been reorganized, and that really helps for a much more smooth start. What I did, for example, is I chose Food Factory, which was in tier 1 at that point, and I actually couldn't use it. It needed milk, and milk I could only get from Livestock Farm, which I guess was in tier 2. So yeah, basically it just led to a very rough start where I couldn't actually get any industry experience until I had leveled my farming for a bit. So now they've reorganized it. So what has changed? First of all, they have moved the plantation to tier 1. So now you can actually start with cotton, and cotton you can then bring to the textile factory in order to make fabric. So that makes the textile factory much more interesting to have at the beginning, so you're not immediately stuck to your paper mill start or your orchard start, which is now not possible anymore. So then they've also moved the glassworks to tier 1, so now you can actually gather sand and turn that into glass and start a glass industry. So you have many more choices when starting out, which makes the game much more fun. So regarding tip number 5 in my previous video, you don't have to be as careful anymore. In tip 6, I talked about the wholesaler and how that would allow you to basically buy some products for your industry. You can still do that, but they've changed the economy a little bit, and now the wholesaler charges twice of the market price instead of just the standard market price. So doing this, buying stuff from the wholesaler, is now much more expensive. In tip number 7, I talked about how you should adjust these number of trucks, because there was an upkeep cost, and if you would have more trucks than you would need, you would be spending a lot of money that you didn't actually need to spend. This has completely changed now, so they removed the upkeep cost completely. So now you can basically assign as many trucks as you want, and it doesn't really matter because only the dispatch cost will be counted. There's no upkeep cost anymore, so in that sense you can completely disregard the tip number 7. Lastly, in tip 10 I talked about the recipe book and how to use it, and this is not so much of a correction as basically just an addition the developer made me aware of. Is basically, let's say here I figured out how to use a cotton field and now I want to build one. Instead of going here and then finding the plantation and building it, you can actually just click on this icon here and then you can immediately build it. Of course, you first have to have it unlocked. For example, here I could go to the gatherers and then to the, let's say, the fisherman pier, which I haven't unlocked yet, and then this is grayed out and then I cannot build it. So that's just an extra way of using the recipe book. Alright, this is how the tips were changed. So I hope you found this video useful, and see you next time.